Welcome to our Thursday Live, and today we are going to take you step by step on how to paint onto a varnish surface. So very important, firstly make sure that your varnish is older than 6 months and that it's still in very good condition. If it's flaking, first sand, remove all loose pieces and then clean very well with lacquer thinners. If your varnish surface is in a good condition, no sanding is required. What you are going to do, first, very important step, is to clean well with lacquer thinners. My varnish is in good condition. It's older than 6 months, so for the cleaning and preparation part, no undercoat will be necessary. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it properly using lacquer thinners. I have pre-cleaned it before, so for this video I'm not wearing gloves, but you should. So wear gloves, make sure there's enough ventilation in your space, and then what you do is you thoroughly wet your cloth with Power Fixes lacquer thinners. I'm not going to let the thinners reach my skin, but this is what it looks like, and you do get 750 milliliter containers. You wet your cloth properly, and then more than once you are going to wipe it clean. And the reason why we're doing it more than once is we all love furniture polishes, and we do want to remove any greasiness, any oiliness, any polish on the surface so that Thjoko can grip. Thjoko is water-based and it needs a grease-free surface to grip onto. So I'm cleaning properly. So you are going to actually wash off your surface with lacquer thinners. And then you allow the thinners to evaporate for at least 40 minutes. I'm going to use the color Neo's New on my door. Shake, unscrew, and open. For most surfaces, I make use of a paintbrush, smooth surfaces, a foam roller, and larger flat surfaces you can also use a mohair roller. But for this application, I'm going to make use of our Thjoko Paint 38mm enzyme brush and 110mm foam roller. I'm going to start with my paintbrush and do all the cut lines, the areas where the foam roller cannot reach. If you are afraid that you will paint these areas, things that you don't want to paint, you can mask it off with masking tape before you start. I'm going to just start. Once all the cut lines are done, I will start painting with my foam roller. So I know I've cleaned my surface properly. I add generous amount of paint onto my foam roller. And what I do is I start in the center and roll upwards, downwards on top of my varnish surface. No undercoat is required. Nice thing about a foam roller is that you can change direction. Air bubbles will appear, but they will also disappear as it dries. My first coat is on. A first coat will never be perfect. When working with whites, yellows and reds, those pigments are very weak in general in the paint industry. So even more than 2 coats might be necessary, especially when working on a darker surface. I'm going to allow my first coat to dry, and then I'm going to start applying my second coat. Next, while I wait for this to dry, I'm going to share some tips when painting with yellows. I'm going to be adventurous in terms of color and pattern on this piece of furniture. When working with yellow, here is a nice tip of advice. What I like to do, especially when you're working on a dark surface and you're changing to a light, like with yellows, reds and whites, I first paint a base coat in the color Stone Wash. Discovered I'm not going to do it when I use the white because I'm going to add stencil patterns on my white surface, but I am going to use Stone Wash as a base color and a base coat before I start applying my John's Joy yellow onto this straw. So Stone Wash, first of all, make sure it's cleaned well with lacquer thinners. I have allowed it to dry for 40 minutes and you can see it looks clean and grease-free. Daar net jou mooi. I have applied one coat, Stone Wash, allowed it to dry, and now I'm going to paint with my John's Joy on top of that. My first coat has been applied, and as you could see with the application, due to the quality of my foam roller, more air bubbles appear. But you just gently, don't press hard, gently roll on your surface until all the air bubbles is minimized and there's a very smooth application on the surface. I'll now allow for this door or this drawer to dry, and then I'll apply my second coat. More or less 40 minutes. It is a cloudy day today in Gauteng. On this drawer, I'm going to paint with white. If I wanted to paint a solid white coat, I would also first paint it in Stone Wash, allow to cure only one coat, and then paint with white. But I have a stencil idea in mind. Cloud white. Very important, before applying your second coat, make sure that your first coat is properly dry. I'm now going to apply my second coats on all the surfaces, and then the rest of the fun will happen. Tip: when you have painted with a foam roller and there is any unevenness on your surface, how to get rid of unevenness or even roughness is to use a Scotch pad. This is also called a Merlon pad, and it's available from your nearest hardware store or in your kitchen. And what you do is you just lightly sand on top of your painted surface to remove any roughness or unevenness. Next, I'm going to do some stencil work on my drawer, and the color I'm going to use, this is a very retro feel, the furniture piece, is matte black, and the stencil design I'm using is on our website, also available from your nearest stockist. It's called the NC23 Stripe 30. This is what it looks like. I'm going to secure it with some masking tape and then use a foam roller with very little paint and evenly roll on top. Let me show you how. I remove any excess paint that might be in my foam roller. The less paint, the greater the success. You can rather wait for the first coat to dry, a very thin, even coat, and then apply a second coat than having too much paint on your roller and have the paint seep through. Now I'm placing my stencil back in position to make sure it's a perfect pattern repeat. I'm going to share 3 tips of advice. First of all, if there are any imperfections with your stencil work, use a 100 grit piece of sandpaper and just sand those on your entire stenciled area just to hide any imperfections, or you can touch up those areas with an artist brush. A foam roller gives a very even, smooth, thin application, and if you see that a third coat is required, just paint a third coat. It actually uses so little paint. I have only applied 2 coats with a demonstration as I've shown. Thirdly, Thjoko has a built-in sealant. If you like the matte finish, it's not a surface that's going to be in a kitchen, in a bathroom or outdoors. You don't need to apply our clear glaze. If you want to give it a subtle satin finish, you can even dilute our glaze with 50% water and 50% glaze, so half-half, and apply with a damp microfiber cloth to give a subtle satin finish, or as the instructions say, with 30% water. It's completely up to you. I like the matte finish. I love this unit as it is. I will now just apply some doorknobs, black to fit with a retro style, and then I'm done. I'll see you again next week. Have a creative week ahead and stay cool. In Gauteng it's been quite warm, and I believe so in the Cape as well. I'll see you again next week.